Hi, welcome to another exciting of Color Me Poetry today. Today I have a lovely, lovely young lady with us. I've known her for many years. She's my friend. She used to come down to Color Me Poetry at Bowie State University.
I
in the
sure
person
did.
of Joy Jones.
Hello, Danny Queen.
Welcome, Miss Jones. Me and this is Jones. Jones. Welcome, girls. Good to see you after all these years.
I'm still hanging in there.
Now, I know that you are a poet, writer, school teacher. Give me the you do all
Playwright.
kinds of- playwright,
Author.
author.
Yes.
Yeah, and then probably some more stuff she didn't talk about yet, y'all. But you've been doing it all.
I have.
Now let's talk about the playwriting to start off with. How did you get into playwriting?
Oh, I knew as a child I wanted to be a writer when I grew up, and I wanted to write everything. So that
Children's
is-
writer, also.
Yeah, I write for children as well. And so when I was a child myself, I wanted to write everything. I wanted to tell stories. I wanted to write stories. I wanted to perform stories. I wanted to compose books. I wanted to compose poems. I wanted to do anything associated with the world of writing.
Wow, you wanted to do it all.
Yes.
You sound like a Gemini.
Sagittarian.
Same thing. The opposites, you know.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, Sagittarius and Gemini are
Okay.
opposites. Yeah. So you've been writing plays for a long time as well.
Yeah, my first play was in the 5th grade.
5th grade. What
Yes.
was that like?
We had a student teacher from Catholic University working at Bunker Hill, and when he left, I asked my teacher if we could put on a little play to sort of commemorate his involvement with our class. So that was my first play. I wrote a play, can't remember the name of it at this point, and we just did a reading in the classroom in honor of this particular teacher.
Oh wow, and it was your idea.
It was my idea.
You directing stuff?
I was writing and directing
Wow.
and producing, yes.
Wow, that's
5th
beautiful.
grade.
Yeah, but you've had some plays since then, of course.
Yes.
Yes.
The last play I had was a couple of years ago as part of the DC Black Theater Festival.
I remember that.
And
yeah.
so
What was it called?
I did 2 plays through the DC Black Theater Festival. One was called Searching for a Signal, which is my favorite play of the plays that I've written. And the other one was called A Musical Level of Pain, which I guess is my second favorite play.
So what was it about, the first one?
I'm sure this is not your problem, but a lot of times I'm living my life and I'm like, God, what are you trying to do here? What is the point?
Searching.
Yes, searching for the signal to explain why things are happening in my life. And so Searching for a Signal is a collection of monologues of people at critical moments in their lives. And they're trying to figure out what to do or why this happened.
And the other one?
The other one is a comedy called A Musical Level of Pain. And it's indirectly about Tupac Shakur.
Oh wow.
And a man whose son is musically inclined, and he's not too happy about that.
Wow.
And he learns to have a different attitude about the music as a result of going to a man who's like a shaman who uses music to cure your problems as opposed to pills or prescriptions.
Wow.
So in my fanciful story, if you have high blood pressure, he comes in and he concocts a mixtape that will reduce your hypertension.
Wow, that's deep. A mixtape that'll do away with your hypertension.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Well, we need some of them mixtapes now, man. Because I got some people in my life just give me high blood pressure. I can work my.
Well, in that case, you just need to get rid of those niggas.
Make me think about the old Motown days, Martha Reeves and Vandella.
Yes.
Like a heat wave, heat wave. Yeah. Right.
Are you a singer, Danny?
No, I don't sing that. I don't sing that. Well,
Okay.
I like singing. That don't mean I can sing.
Okay,
But
I'm
I
in the
do
same
write.
camp.
I
Okay.
do write. I do write music and I write melodies and that kind of thing. So yeah, I've always had a great love for music.
Okay.
Always
okay.
had a great love for music. Yeah.
Okay.
But the playwriting has always been a part of your writing lexicon.
Yes. I've always had an interest in that.
Now, did the plays come first, or did the poetry come first, or did the children's writing come first? What came first?
I think it all happened.
It all just happened simultaneously.
Yes.
Oh, so how do you are you pulled from one to the other, or depends on how it hits you?
It depends on how the message wants to be expressed. Some stories are more visual and performance oriented, and I see people on stage acting out the story. Other ideas I want to put down on paper in a book. So it just depends on how the message evolves as I think about it. Most of what I write before it's published or produced, I've been thinking about it a long time. And when I say a long time, a lot of ideas have been germinating since childhood.
Really?
Yes.
In the subconscious mind.
In my conscious mind. I've
Conscious
been thinking
mind, okay.
about them a long time. The play I mentioned, A Musical Level of Pain, where a man does a mixtape
I
of
love that title.
songs.
Yeah.
I first got that idea watching the Ed Sullivan Show. So
Ed
that-
Sullivan Show.
Yeah, so that lets you
Lord,
know how.
I wasn't here then. I was not here then. Okay.
And
I was here when Ted Mack was on though.
When you were here with Ed Sullivan.
I remember Ed Sullivan. Yeah.
And
I'm a baby now. Don't get it twisted. I was a baby.
Well, I was a very young child too.
Yeah.
And a comedian did a sketch about mixing test tubes of different elements in order to come up with the impersonations he did.
Wow.
And I thought, oh, that's a cute idea.
really
and like I
is.
said, I'm in elementary
Unique.
school watching that. And I often thought over the years, how could that be translated into a more verbal kind of execution? And so that's how that play got its
Came
start.
about.
Yeah.
Wow. Do characters sometimes speak to you? Do they come to you, or they just? What do they start? They start in your
Now,
imagination.
I don't usually start with a character if I'm writing something fictional. I don't usually start with the character. I start with either the idea or the theme. So,
Go
for
from there.
example, right now I'm working on a book, a novel about a boy who gets put off the school bus and is
Okay.
forced to walk home. every
That's
day.
real.
And so it was that idea of, because I like to walk, and I used to have a job where I would walk from Metro Center to Union Station every day after
Okay.
work. And although that was years ago, I missed that walk very
Really?
much. That was like one of the best parts of the day.
I love walking.
So I've been wanting to talk about that experience. So I started with the idea, and then everything
Wow.
grows out of that. That's the way it usually works for me. And I have to find a character to embody that idea.
Because earlier you was talking to me about an upcoming book that talks about the writing process.
That's right.
Yeah.
Next month, Writing is Essential is coming out. This is an anthology developed by Judith Slaughter.
Okay.
And she has interviewed a variety of writers about their writing process and their successes and struggles in being a writer. And I have one of the essays in it.
But the writing process is different for every writer, though, is it not?
It is different, although I
Yeah.
think there are a few
Commonalities.
commonalities. One thing I think writers need to do is find out what is the process that works for you.
you, right,
Find
as
out
an
what your
individual.
ritual and routine is, and then be faithful to that. So.
Well, like you, sometimes I can have an idea of this rolling around in my head, sometimes for years.
Yeah, same with
consciously
me.
or subconsciously derived. And as my late mentor, Dr. Francis Chris Watson, would say, if you put an idea in that subconscious mind, sooner or later you're going to get a printout. You know, but the thing is, sometimes you don't know when it's going to come. Sometimes you're working on something. I'm the kind of person I keep notes. Always keep notes. And then when I'm working, but for me as a poet, as a writer, I always begin with the end in mind, so I always start with the title. And every writer is different. I know poets who write a poem and then, okay, what I'm going to call it. I don't do that. I just start with the title first. So
Okay.
for me, everything is custom made and everything goes back to that title so I can keep it all in focus.
Okay.
So that's how it works for me.
Okay,
And so
usually-
these ideas I have on a paper, okay, and I have a type of the paper, whatever the title might be, and I got all these ideas. And once I start working them, I go to my notes and I draw from there.
Okay, I'm sort of the reverse. Usually the title comes midway or last for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Not always.
But that's how it works most of the time. Wow. Yeah, like I said, that's an important book you're coming out
Yeah,
with.
writing is
because-
essential. Yeah,
Yes.
I enjoyed reading about the other writers and what they did and said. Yeah.
And how they go about it. Yes, that's what's so interesting to me because I've interviewed a lot of poets and writers
I
over
bet.
the years, even musicians. How some people write the lyrics first, some write the melody first, some start with the chords. It's just art, man. It's just beautiful. So I always say, it's art imitating life, or life imitating art.
It goes both ways.
I think it does.
Yeah.
And it seems to sometimes, Joy, I don't know if you agree with me, but sometimes it seems like creativity sometimes seems to have a mind of its own.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Why would you agree with me on that?
Well, sometimes you want to take, you have an idea in mind and you're going to execute it like this.
Specific.
And then as you're working on it, it goes in a different direction than what you planned.
Yes.
I know
Exactly.
back when I was in school, teachers used to teach in order to write an essay or a report, you need to write an outline, A, B, and C. And
Yes,
then
that's
I
right.
could never write a report that way. What I had to do was
neither.
an idea would come maybe in the middle of the report.
Right,
Or maybe
yes.
a quotation I thought was interesting, and I start writing about that. And then I would have to write the whole report first. and then go back and construct the outline to satisfy the teacher. So, you know, the way I was told to do it is not how it worked for me.
Now, did you ever do technical writing?
Not really, not too much of that.
I
yeah.
couldn't stand it. I had to take it when I was in college. I couldn't stand that mess because, I mean, I know it's necessary. Of course it's necessary because, you know, it's like technical writing, like you buy, for instance, I bought a laptop recently. So, you know, they give you this instructions to do this, do that, so you can get, bought a piano, so you got to how to hook the thing up. I mean, the legs and all that for the stand and all that. That's technical writing. I can't do that kind of writing, Joy. I need to be more creative than that. But I understand it's necessary. Because if you buy a product and you want to know how to put it together, you need to know the diagram and how to read and all that. You can't do that with a poem. You can't do that with a short story, an essay.
Yeah.
So it is necessary, but it wasn't. It just pulled that another side of my nature. I'm like, this mess here, that ain't for me. But I do understand it's very necessary. Yeah. So there's different types of writing.
Yes.
And different types of. There's probably more writers who have different styles than there are people who write.
I would say so.
Yeah.
I would say so.
Yeah. Now we got to get to the reading. Share something, sister,
Oh.
that you might want to share.
Well, I'll share something from my newest book, Fearless Public Speaking.
Okay.
This just came out weeks ago, actually.
Now, how'd that come about?
Oh, talk about something that took a long time to gestate. Well, no, I wrote it pretty quickly. It took a long time to get to a publisher.
Okay.
That's what took some time.
Wow.
I got the idea for this around 2004. I had the luck to be able to go to a writer's colony or an artist colony called the Malay Colony for the Arts in upstate New York.
Okay.
And so I had a month just to write.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Just to write.
during that visit, that's when I started working on what has become Fearless Public Speaking. And I like public speaking. I like performing.
You've done quite a bit of it.
And so I was thinking about an idea for a book. So I thought maybe it would be fun to write about that. There are lots and lots of books for adults about public speaking.
Yes.
But not so many about that for children. So I aimed my book toward the teen market.
Oh.
So I wrote the book and was sending it out to publishers endlessly, no luck.
Wow.
Then about, I guess, 3 years ago now, I went to a writers' conference and they had some editors there who were looking for work, including nonfiction work for young people. And so after the conference, I contacted one of those editors. And actually, I sent her another book. I sent her a picture book idea that I had. And she said, oh, this is interesting, but I think it would be better if you made this change, and that change. So I made this change, and that change, and sent it back to her. And she was like, no, that's not quite it. But I like your writing. If you have something else, send it to me. So I sent her another picture book. And she wrote back and said, no, I don't like that, but feel free to send me something else.
How long did this go on?
Well, the third time was the charm. I sent her my book on public speaking, and that's the book she bought.
Wow.
Yeah, now, you were talking about you start with the title, and then everything comes afterwards.
Yes.
In this particular book, the title came, if it wasn't the first thing, it came pretty quickly. My original title was Stage Fright is Your Friend, and other things you need to know about public speaking. The publisher did not like that title.
Oh, it didn't
Yeah,
hit with them.
we fought back and forth about
Yes.
that. Then they changed the title to Find
Let
Your
me hold
Voice.
this. Wow.
And I didn't like that title, but they liked it. So up until about maybe 3 weeks before publication, then they changed the title once again to Fearless Public Speaking. So I can live with this.
Wow.
But in this particular case, I didn't get the final word on the choice of the title.
Now, who designed the book?
The publisher is Sterling Publishing, and so they had their own in-house graphic designer who chose the cover.
It's effective.
Oh, well,
Yeah. It's simple, but it's effective.
well, I like the color, but I would have liked a jazzier cover for the book. But
Well, you can always change it later.
yeah,
Yeah,
once it sells so many copies.
Yeah, sell at least a million. They can change they'll let change anything after me.
That's right. That's right.
You know?
So
Yes.
I guess what I'll read is from the first chapter I wrote, which is now chapter 2 in the book.
Okay.
But it was the first chapter that
And this
I
chapter's
gave birth
entitled?
to. Stage Fright is Your Friend.
Come on with it.
And it starts with a quote by a popular children's author, I'm sure you don't read books for elementary school kids at this
Oh
stage
no,
in your
but you
life.
know, I used to have children writers on the show, like
Okay.
Eloise Greenfield. And,
Okay.
yeah, and Sharon Bell Mathis.
Okay,
and,
okay.
yeah.
Well, this is a writer named Lemony Snicket, and he wrote a series of book called A Series of Unfortunate Events, which was also made into a movie.
Okay.
So my quote is from him. There are two kinds of fears, rational and irrational, or in simpler terms, fears that make sense and fears that don't. Lemony Snicket. What you think is fear is actually something wonderful and something necessary. Let me explain. When I was a kid, I loved performing. Acting in plays, reciting at programs, giving speeches. I liked the stage. People would ask me if I felt stage fright. I always said no. I never did. Okay, almost never. It was years before I truly realized what they meant. Often before I had to give a speech, I felt a funny feeling in my chest. It was like a big ball of energy roiling around inside of me, just behind my rib cage. It felt impossible to control or contain. I learned that I could handle it better by being quiet in the minutes before it was time to speak. Yes, it was somewhat unsettling, but not scary. In fact, I learned to welcome that fiery, churning sensation. I discovered that the bigger and more uncomfortable that feeling was, the better I tended to do once I was on stage. That nervous energy was the powerful force I needed to do the work of performance. It's the energy that helps me to speak loudly so the people in the back of the room can hear. It's the extra spark that inspires me to add a gesture or a flourish as I'm talking. It's the energy that gives me the courage to give attitude or to throw in a dramatic moment. It's what gives me presence on stage. It's an important and positive thing. Chances are you experience something similar when it's your turn to speak. Butterflies in your stomach, a trickle of perspiration snaking down your neck, a trembly feeling in your bones. Whatever you call it, that's not fear. That's your body revving up for action. Don't call it fear, call it power.
Wow, how beautiful. Wow. About public speaking. Wow, you've done a lot of public speaking.
Yes, yes.
And so you get all those things.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Like I said, typically I have a big, it reminds me of a storm cloud that's sitting
Yes.
in my chest and it's turning around
Before
really,
you
really
go
fast.
on. But once
Yes.
you get started,
Then it dissipates because I'm
Dissipate,
using
yeah.
that energy
Yes.
to speak, to perform,
and to communicate.
to communicate.
Yes, I felt that too at public speaking.
Okay, okay.
They say if you don't feel that, then something wrong.
Yes, like I said, when it doesn't show up, I don't do as good a job. So it's
you get
important for
used
me
to
to
it.
have that feeling, and it's not something scary. It's something powerful.
I come out like Bernie Mac. I ain't scared of you, mom. Then I go from there. It's all right. It's gonna be all right. That's what the Hoyas say. If I cuss them out, they just say that boy's a good poet. You know how Bernie used to do it. Yeah.
Well, I
know?
love Bernie Mac. One
I did.
reason I was impressed with Bernie Mac is my children's picture book, Tambourine Moon, was used on the set of the Bernie Mac
Oh,
show.
really?
Yes, I was so thrilled.
Oh,
And-
so thrilled. I hope you sold 1 million copies. That's what I be.
Well, I probably didn't sell a million copies. It wasn't, he didn't discuss the book, but
It was
one
there,
of,
though.
Yeah, one of the little girls is holding it, reading it as they're talking. It was for their Thanksgiving episode, as a matter of
Well, how
fact.
did that come about?
Oh, I was in a writing group, and one of my friends said, why don't you see if you can, I think she even said Bernie Mac show, but she said, why don't you see if you could get your book featured on a TV show? I don't know how that conversation happened.
Wow.
And in my head, I'm thinking, there's no way somebody's going to take
Right.
my stuff. You know, I'm not Hollywood,
Yeah.
and put it on a TV show. But I said, it's worth a shot. All it's going to do is cost me a book and a stamp.
Hey, you could have become Madam Hollywood overnight. I'm telling you.
And so I sent it to the producer, whose name, Larry Wilmore. I sent it to Larry Wilmore, who was the producer at the time. And then I started calling to follow up.
Right.
And one day I called and I said, hi, may I speak to Larry Wilmore? And the man answered and said, this is Larry Wilmore.
You ain't expect to get Larry
No,
on the phone like that.
I didn't expect to get him. I actually talked to him on the telephone.
Wow.
And I'm mumbling and stumbling because I was expecting to speak to his secretary and leave a message. And he said, oh yeah, I think we can do that.
Wow.
And so
Just like that.
a few months later, it was one of the books that the
Now,
characters
do you have
were.
copies of that episode?
Yes, I do. Now it took a lot to get the copies of the episode.
Buy all of them.
I thought they were going to call me and say, tomorrow night we're going to use your book.
Oh, they never told you that?
No. And one day I'm laid back on my bed watching television, and then I see the little girl who was the character on the show reading my book. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm not set up to record or
You
nothing.
ain't nothing. You didn't know it was going to be on.
So I called a friend of mine who lived in Texas, because that's a different time zone, thinking maybe they could set up their equipment to record. That didn't work out. But it so happened that a girlfriend of mine, she liked, at that time there was a show on TV called My Wife and Kids.
I remember that, yeah.
And it aired at the same time as Bernie Mac.
Oh.
And so she had recorded the Bernie Mac show while she was watching My Wife and Kids, so that she could watch Bernie Mac
same time.
later. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's how I got a copy of the
Oh,
episode.
that's beautiful. Now, I got a similar story, not quite that big, but my good friend, motivational speaker, this is one of the foremost motivational speakers in the world, Willie Jolly. I had him on my show at Bowie some years ago in the 90s. And so I always shared poems on the show, right between where I could fit them in, get in where I fit in. And so I shared this piece called Because I'm Special. And Willie said to me after the show, he said, man, I like that poem. I said, oh, thank you. He said, I'd like to put that in my book.
Whoa!
I said, oh, Willie, don't mess with me now. But he said, no, really. I gave him a copy of it about 4 months later. The book came out, and I was on page 99.
Well,
in the
well.
book. Yeah, and it's called Because I'm Special.
Well, let's hear it.
So this is a piece I wrote for children. Because I'm special. Because I'm special, I have my sense of self and it's not for sale. I know who I am and I refuse to fail. The power of I am is my mind's master key for the way of the will, is the life force in you and me. The sacred source of all life's wealth is simply in how you look at yourself. Because I'm special. I know who I am. I've got the power to succeed. And in the spirit of faith, I got all that I need. A blessing in disguise that evidence of things not seen is a secret of success and a seed of self-esteem. Because I am that I am, there's no way I can let myself down. Hang-ups and setbacks are only stepping stones to higher ground. Because I'm special. I love my sense of self and it's not for sale. I know who I am and I refuse to fail just because I'm special.
I can see why Willie Jolly chose that.
And he jumped on that. I was
Yeah.
like, wow, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, he actually used it. I think, Willie, if you listen, I got to get you on here, brother. My good friend.
Because I know who I am, that goes a long way in
Yes.
preventing you from failing, or if you do fail, to be able
Yes.
to stand up again and
Positive
keep moving
motivation.
forward. Yeah.
Positive
yeah.
inspiration. Share something else. Anything you might want to share?
Oh, let's see, what else could I share? Maybe from my
Private lessons?
Yeah, Private Lessons, a book of meditations for teachers. I wrote
Yes.
this when I was teaching creative writing at the middle school level.
I love that book. I did a piece called Do It for the Children some years ago. And that book helped me to inspire me to focus on where I wanted to go with that. So why did you write this book, though, first of all?
Well,
What were you thinking?
I always wanted to do a meditation book on some topic, and I still want to do another one, actually.
Okay.
For many years, I've worked in mental health, and so I'd like to do a similar book for mental health professionals as I did for teachers. I don't know, I just thought meditation
Nice.
books are cool, so I wanted to be cool too.
Yeah, when I first saw it, it reminded me of Iyanla Vanzant.
Well, I had my idea before she came out, but
Really?
Yeah.
Come on with it. She ain't here, you here.
So this is called adversity. Our own healing proceeds from that overlap of what we call good and evil, light and dark. It is not the light element alone that causes the healing. The place where light and dark begin to touch is where miracles arise. That's a quote by Robert A. Johnson.
And the thought for the day?
When we are troubled, we often call that time a period of darkness, a dark night of the soul. Darkness is a good thing. It's during the hushed hours of the night you think serious thoughts. Rest, sleep, and dreams are events that take place when the lights go out and the sun goes down. When praying, we often close our eyes to shut out daylight in order for a deeper illumination to reveal itself. The period of darkness you're enduring is the incubator for the recovery that is next to emerge. Today's lesson, I am patient.
Wow, how beautiful.
Thank you, thank you.
How long did it take you to put that together, Joy?
When I did the book proposal, I had maybe 15 reflections already written,
Okay.
and it took me maybe 6 months to do the remaining ones for 180 total.
You did all of this while working every day.
No, actually, when I wrote this book, I was trying to be a full-time artist, so I was doing a lot of freelance work when I wrote that.
But it worked though. Yeah,
It
you
worked.
got
It
through
worked.
Yeah,
I have
that's
to
a
say, I
blessing.
liked being a full-time, having a steady paycheck.
Yeah,
And
I
then-
like that. Now, being a Capricorn, I am. You know, I like that.
I like having a steady paycheck
Yes.
and then being able to do my art in addition, rather than trying to do the art full-time and
do
make
both.
that cause,
Yes.
create a full-time income that way.
Yeah, I had to do both, you know.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
because everybody's situation is different. I was
True.
right. You know, I worked for the Board of Education. I worked at night. I worked from 3:30 to midnight, got off, wrote 3 or 4 hours.
Ooh.
And
When
then,
did you sleep?
Whenever I could.
Oh, no. I
Yeah.
would be a lunatic.
Yeah, I've never been a person to require a whole lot of sleep, but if I sleep for 5 hours, you know, 5, 6 hours, I'm good. And so that's what I had to do when I was doing the show, because on Mondays when I was doing the show at Bowie back in the day, we would shoot 3, 4 shows on Monday. So in 13 years, I did about 1,800 shows. And they're on Facebook, y'all. Y'all go see, I mean, on the YouTube, y'all go and see them. Yeah, you on one of them too. You maybe on a couple of them.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I do remember.
So I was kind of like a workaholic like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a blessing though.
Yeah.
But you're doing something you love to do.
True.
What? Tell me this, Joe. What makes you write?
Ooh.
And can you teach somebody to write? Can you teach somebody to be a poet?
Yes,
or
I think
write?
you can teach. I think you can teach the skills to write.
But the spark.
I think most people have a spark. There's a desire for self-expression or connection with other people. I think
Okay.
that spark can be cultivated and grown. I do teach creative writing in a variety of venues. So yeah, I think you can.
So have you ever taken creative writing when coming up?
I'm not taking any creative writing classes currently. What I'm sort of fascinated with right now is learning about other people's creative process. I like hearing what artists do
Yeah.
in order to go from point A to from the spark
That's
to a finished.
fascinating in itself.
And so what I'm doing now is I'm interviewing artists and then putting their comments on Instagram.
Oh, really?
I have an Instagram series of where I talk to people, videotape them about some aspect of the creative process. And then on
wow.
Fridays, I post that on Instagram. If y'all want to check me out on Instagram,
And what do you call it?
Creative Journey.
Oh, Creative Journey. Wow, how
Yeah.
beautiful. What made you want to do that? That's unique.
I don't know how unique it is, but
I've never seen it.
A couple of years ago, I read a book whose name is going to escape me. I think it's called Daily Routines. And a man had studied both ancient people as well as contemporary artists, scientists, philosophers, writers, poets, a variety of prominent people, and sort of figured out what they said about their creative process. And the common denominator was alcohol.
Alcohol.
Yes, all of these people,
Wow.
all of these people like to drink
wow.
or use drugs, and a distant third was taking a walk daily.
Really?
But that seemed to be the most common. Everybody had their own process, their own routine, their own rituals. But the most frequent through line was drugs and alcohol, and then walking. And so I'm like, oh my God, is all of Western civilization based on alcoholism?
That's what I'd be thinking.
and maybe it is.
Get
But
your drink on.
I'm so glad I didn't read that book when I was like 20. I might have thought having a cocktail every day was the way to go. But at any rate,
So, but anyway.
no. But anyway,
That's
I
interesting.
wanted to talk to other people to see what else motivates people.
But the point
besides-
is, everybody has a story. to tell.
everybody has a
It's
story,
to
yes.
tell.
Everybody has
Yeah.
a story.
Some of the stories I don't want to hear though. But I drink it every day. But anyway, I'm just saying, everybody, really, truly, everybody has a story. you
Yes.
know?
And alcohol is sometimes referred to as spirits, sometimes.
Yeah, spirits in it.
And I do think maybe that excessive drinking is a desire to sort of connect
With something.
that spiritual realm.
Why do you think they call it spirits?
Well, I guess alcohol and drugs do take you into a different realm.
Realm, yes.
Yes,
Mhm.
outside of the ordinary workaday life. And we do have a desire to connect with something that's a higher power. Alcohol may not be the best way to do it.
Well, yeah, exactly. Not the best way to do it. reason why I said it because I had an uncle when I was growing up, and it was the nicest guy you ever want to meet during the week.
Uh-oh.
On the week, he'd be like, get out of my face. It was like a total different person. You're like, that ain't uncle I knew. Not 2 days ago. But it's something about it that changes people.
Yes, it does.
I was like, wow. And I noticed that very early on as a child. I said, I don't want to be like that uncle. I mean, really, truthfully.
He's probably a frustrated artist.
It may have been a frustrated artist, who had a story to tell and maybe didn't know how to tell it. Yeah, so that happens. But stories to tell. There's an old CD, I think. I was trying to think of the artist's name. Can't call her name, but she plays with the guitar. I can't think of her name. It'll come to me. But she has a CD called Stories to Tell that I just love. And I'm sorry, I can't call her name. But she had a great album and a great song called Fast Cars. I can't think of her name. It'll come to me after the show. It'll come back.
Well, she's a blues singer, rhythm and blues.
No, she's more like folk.
Okay.
What's her name? I can't call her name. But yeah, I love her writing, and she has this beautiful song called Stories to Tell, and that's what reminded me of that when you were saying, because every writer, every person has a story to tell.
And it may not be a story that you write down and put in a book, but I do think we have something important to express. And the world is richer when we express it. And it might be in a book, it might be in a song, it might be that you're a visual artist, it might be that you have a more practical skill, like being able to fix cars. So one of a new skill I've developed since working at the library, people will come into the library and say, I want to get this book. I can't remember the title. I can't remember the name of the person who wrote the book. And I don't remember what it was about, but it was really, really good. And the cover is orange. Yeah, the cover is orange. Can you find the book? And amazingly, most times I'm able to find the book.
Really? How you able to do that, Joy? Talk about that. How you able to do that? I mean, you got a million orange books in the library. And that's all the detail they give you.
A lot of times that's the only detail. The first time it happened to me, I was working in the children's section of the library. And the children's librarian had brought this customer over to me, not so I could help her, but so we could laugh at her. She said, I read this poetry book when I was a kid, and I really loved it. I don't remember the title or the author, but it was really good poetry, and I'd like to read it again. The cover was green. And I don't know, I feel like, because I love books and God is love. There's an open channel for me. Yes. And I said, Shel Silverstein. She said, yes, that's it. That's it.
Oh, wow.
And then we went to the stacks to find the book. The book didn't have a green cover, it was white. But, so she was way off. But she found the book that she remembered from her childhood.
So you connect with books like that?
I do.
Yes.
I do.
And she couldn't remember?
She couldn't remember the name of the book, couldn't remember the name of the author. And she said the cover was green, but it was white.
Just like I couldn't remember the name of the artist I was just talking about. And of course, it's Tracy Chapman.
Okay.
Yes, I love Tracy Chapman.
Okay.
Because she does beautiful things with her music and lyrics.
So have you ever seen her website?
No, I've never seen
It's a beautiful website. You have to go check it out. Yeah.
She's a bad girl. I mean, I love her music, you know. She did this one song that I love called Just My Soul Responding or something like that. Yeah.
I like that title.
Yeah, it's just wonderful, yeah. But I love music and I love lyrics. Do you have any favorite songwriters or poets or authors?
I don't have any favorite songwriters necessarily. I do like Carole King a lot.
I love Carole King.
I love all of the Motown songbook.
I love Stevie
Holland
Wonder
Dozier.
and all of that. Oh, Holland Dozier and Holla?
Yeah.
Say what?
Yeah.
Oh, man, them guys were amazing. They were amazing.
You know,
yes.
Advertising how old I am with the people who are my icons.
Yeah, so I loved Kenny Gamble and Leon Harper.
They were good too. They were good too.
Amazing. Yeah.
So,
but were there any poets like maybe Langston or anybody?
Oh, Langston Hughes, yes. Langston Hughes is definitely, because he, as they described him, he was a people's poet. Yes, and he was somebody that everybody could relate to. He talked about ordinary black folks. That's something that I really appreciated, that he talked about not people who were famous or people who were well educated or people who were prominent, but he talked about everyday folks you could relate to who were in your community.
And his story, simple.
I love the simple stories.
Simple was something.
I love the simple
He wasn't as simple as people think he was. And his girlfriend Joyce, and then his sidekick
and Zarita. Yeah. His
he was messing around back then.
Well, you black men have done that for a long time.
I ain't never done that. Now the show, we about to go on, y'all. Pull the plug. No, he did though. He had Joyce was his girlfriend. She was prim and proper.
Right.
Zarita was the exact opposite of all
Yeah,
that.
she was a little wild.
And the conversation that Langston would have with him and the narrator was just amazing.
Yeah.
It was just amazing.
Yeah, I enjoyed those.
Yeah, I love
So
Langston
Langston Hughes
Hughes.
was a big favorite of mine too.
And Zora Neale Hurston?
I liked her stuff.
Yeah, I
yes.
love this stuff.
Yeah.
But before we go, how can we get in touch with you? Is there a website?
I do have a website. My website is joyjonesonline.com. And I'm excited because I'm getting ready to revamp my
Okay.
website. So stay tuned
Great.
and check in about a month and you'll see a whole new
And then, of course, your
presentation.
new book.
My new book is Fearless Public Speaking, available through Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and wherever wonderful books are sold. The publisher for Fearless Public Speaking is owned by Barnes & Noble. So.
Oh, okay, great.
So that's good.
And-
I invite people to follow me on Facebook, of course, and Instagram. I'm on Instagram at Joy Jones, hashtag Joy Jones 1433. And that's where you can see my series that just launched this month, as a matter of fact, on artists and their creative process.
Sister, we thank you for coming and sharing with us. Of course, I'm Danny Queen. This is my latest project. It's simply entitled Up Close and Personal, and the artist is Von Paris, and it's written, I wrote all the music on it. And so go out and get it. Also on Facebook, and I'm on Instagram, and anything else where you can push the button and get Poet Danny Queen. Thank you for coming, sis. We're going to get you back when that new book comes out. Give us the name of the new collection that's coming out.
The new anthology is Writing is Essential, and any writer who wants to know how to be a better
Yes.
scribe should get it.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing some Color Me Poetry. I'm Danny Queen. Until next time, please color me poetry. Assalamu alaikum. Be at peace.